Shalom. We are preparing for Parasha 54, Deuteronomy 31, on Moses' birthday, where he's 120 years old. His third cycle of 40 years, which he went through and came to an end. And those 3 cycles are basically his cycles of purification. And we are also going to look at the 3 cycles of purification in general, which is the cycle, then the cycle of the Great Tribulation, and then the cycle of the 7th millennium. Now, number 7 is very prevalent this time of year. We are officially in month 7. We had the sliver of the moon. I think it was about over 2% on Wednesday evening. So it was between Tuesday, Wednesday, where it had the 1% sliver, which is normally the sign and indication of the starting of the first day of the 7th month. So a new moon is not a dark moon. A new moon is something you observe, something you see in the heavens, and that's what signals in the new or the last cycle, the number 7, which is relating to the second coming of Mashiach, and in this case overlaying that with the 7th millennium, the third coming of Mashiach, which are the 2 last cycles. So Yom Teruah is an interesting festival. Now, I've looked at the sign in the heavens that happened on the 23rd of September 2017, which is the Revelation 12 sign. And we are now currently the 5th Teruah, or the 5th trumpets, the 5th feast of trumpets since that day. So I'm just putting that out there. It might mean something, it might not mean something. To me, it's definitely having a fractal or a pattern of the larger. Now, as you remember when we did Genesis, Joseph's dream, he dreamt about 7 years of famine, 7 years of prosperity, 7 years of famine, and the last 7 years are divided up into 3.5 year components, so of which the last one is the great part of the tribulation, and the 7 years are the tribulation. So I'm not saying that we are in the tribulation, but can it be? Can we be number 5th or the 5th trumpet into the first 7, which then will soon have the last 3, or is there another 7 that will follow after this number 7 is finished? All I know is the number 7, the cycles of 7 are very important. And on top of that, which I didn't know until yesterday, is that it is a Shemitah year. It's a sabbatical year, according to the Jewish culture, based on the destruction of the temple and then counting 7 years onwards. And Jonathan Kahn has done a lot of studies on it, and he wrote the book The Harbingers, and he basically showed that every 7th year there's a major financial crisis, a big dip in the market, which they call the black swan, where all the stock markets and everything go down. It's like a reset, and that normally is linked to the Shemitah here. So we expect this black swan anything from now or October, and there's some news that America is not being able to honor their debt, and they mentioned the date of October, so I don't know if that's a hint when that might be, but I think we should brace ourselves for another 2008-2009 financial crisis. And this bubble was not the housing bubble of 2008-2009. This one relates to COVID and the printing of money and hyperinflation, and that bubble that has been caused by cheap money being given to people that they invest in the markets, and those markets now have these bubbles in them that need to deflate sooner or later. So I'm expecting that soon. because the stock market hasn't done anything yet. I'm expecting that in the next couple of weeks. On top of that, we can expect anything to do with the sabbatical here. It's a time of rest, and I think that's why there's a reset, because things need to stop and then rest and then scale back up again. And we can expect the same within the spiritual, also within the agricultural and the physical realm regarding our current situation that we're in. So things, according to me, is not going to go any better. I know there's a lot of things about the restrictions going to be lifted and all that and the other. I think everybody's very excited about it, but they need to comply in order to achieve that, to get the big V. But I don't think it's going to improve. If you look at the patterns and the cycles, we are going down first before we go up. So I'm expecting a bit more turmoil and darkness coming upon us before it gets any better. So with that being said, Yom Teruah is a time of celebration, but it's also a time where you blow the trumpet, which is a time of warning the people. It's also a time of assembling the people to be ready, because there's a spiritual war, a spiritual battle raging. And as we saw with the example in the book of Daniel, who prayed, and then the messenger came to him, which I believe is Mashiach, and he stated that there's a battle raging. The powers and principalities of the air, the powers to be that sit behind everything, they are basically in conflict and in battle with the kingdom of Yahweh as we speak. And we need to be mindful of that, so we don't lose sight of that, so we don't fear. And that's a message that was given to Daniel. Don't fear, be strong. And we need to speak life into the situation and not only repeat what we hear in the news and voice our fears and doubts. We should stop doing that. And I catch myself now and then that I want to drift off into that direction. I need to pull myself back and focus on what Yahweh is doing. He is fighting the battle on our behalf. And guess what? We know the end of the story. He is going to win. So we've got something to rejoice in, even in this time, knowing that there's turmoil coming. We can know that beyond that turmoil, beyond that dark time, beyond that Jordan, there is life and light. So I just want to leave you with that. We are going to discuss this parasha as well as Yom Teruah in the same setting. So I'm excited to share that with all of you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.